It was the summer of my 3rd year in college. Just before summer break, 5 of us made plans to take a trip to the beach. Then one of my friends said, "Why don't we get summer jobs there while we're at it?" It didn't sound like a bad idea. In the end, 3 of us decided to work at a seaside inn, while the other 2 would join us later as guests. We started searching for a place to work. There were plenty of online listings welcoming groups of friends. Eventually, we chose a small inn near the beach. The application process went surprisingly smoothly. Even when we asked if our friends could stay for a couple of days later on, the owner simply laughed and said, "That's fine, as long as you're ready to work extra hard." Just like that, our summer plans were set. We were excited. The ocean. New experiences. A little extra money. None of us imagined that anything could go wrong. The inn was older than we had expected. It was a small, 2-story guest house. The kind of place that reminded you of your grandmother's house in the countryside. The first person to greet us was a young woman named Misaki. She had grown up nearby, and her friendly smile immediately put us at ease. Our excitement only grew. The owner, Makiko, was warm-hearted and full of energy. It felt like we'd found the perfect place to spend the summer. As we were getting ready to put our luggage away, Makiko said, "The guest rooms are at the end of this hallway. Your room is on the 1st floor as well." One of my friends tilted his head. "Wait, don't you use the 2nd floor?" Without hesitation, Makiko replied, "No, we don't use the 2nd floor anymore." We assumed it was because the busy season hadn't started yet. At the time, none of us gave it a second thought. Life at the inn turned out to be better than we had expected. The work was hard, but everyone treated us well. About a week later, one of my friends said, "We really got lucky with this job." "Yeah," another replied. "And the pay isn't bad either." Then friend B suddenly remembered something. "Come to think of it. Haven't you noticed Makiko carrying meals upstairs?" We looked at each other. "What? I thought nobody used the 2nd floor." Friend B worked near the entrance every evening and often saw Makiko carrying trays of food up the stairs. According to him, she would disappear onto the 2nd floor with them. But back then, none of us thought much of it. Ha! That was all we said. A few days later, I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. I was cleaning the hallway when I noticed the landlady quietly stepping out from the door leading to the 2nd floor. The same 2nd floor she had told us was no longer in use. Cleaning had always been Misaki's job. That was why it bothered me. That night, I told my friends what I had seen. A immediately replied, "I've seen it too." Then B added something even stranger. According to him, the landlady carried trays of food upstairs almost every day. And about 5 minutes later, she always came back down with empty dishes. Even though no one was supposed to be up there. Was someone living on the 2nd floor? A sick relative? Or something else? We could have ignored it. But we were college students. There was still a month left of our summer job, and our curiosity got the better of us. In the end, we decided to investigate. The next day, we watched the landlady disappear upstairs with another tray of food. 5 minutes later, she returned. The tray was empty. We exchanged uneasy glances. Should we check it out? The door to the 2nd floor wasn't even locked. As soon as we cracked it open, B frowned. "Do you smell that?" He said it smelled like rotting garbage. A and I couldn't smell anything. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open. A dim staircase. A hallway far too narrow. A and B stayed downstairs. I went up alone. Step by step. The old floor creaked beneath my feet. Crack. Crack. Every shadow in the darkness looked human. As I climbed higher, the sounds grew louder. Crack, crack, crack. It felt as if I were stepping on something. Bugs. A chill ran down my spine. But nothing moved. It was too dark to see what was beneath my feet. I glanced back several times. A and B were still downstairs, giving me thumbs up signs as if everything was fine. I nodded weakly and kept going. It was just an old building. That was what I kept telling myself. Then I reached the top. The stench hit me immediately. Piles of rotten food were stacked against the wall. Flies swarmed around them. Then I noticed the door. And froze. Wooden boards had been nailed across it. Countless paper talismans covered its surface. Ropes wrapped around the nails like a giant web. It looked as if something had been sealed inside. At that moment, I realized I had made a terrible mistake. I turned to leave. Then I heard it. Scratch. The sound was coming from behind the door. Something was clawing at it. Then came another sound. Uneven breathing. I couldn't move. I couldn't turn around. I couldn't run. Suddenly, everything went silent. Only for an instant. Bang! The scratching started again. But this time, it wasn't behind the door. It was directly above me. From the ceiling. Scratch. Scratch. That was impossible. My legs began to shake uncontrollably. Inside my head, I repeated the same words over and over. Help me. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. It was A and B. They were frantically waving at me from downstairs. Hey, get down here. Are you okay? The sound of their voices finally snapped me back to reality. I ran. Eyes shut tight. Nearly falling down the stairs. I just wanted to get as far away from that place as possible. When I returned to the room, A and B rushed over. What happened? But I couldn't answer. The scratching and the breathing were still echoing in my ears. Then A said something unbelievable. Didn't you eat something up there? I had no idea what he was talking about. According to A and B, after reaching the top of the stairs, I had suddenly crouched down and started stuffing something into my mouth. My clothes were covered in rotten scraps of food. The stench coming from them was unbearable. I ran to the bathroom and threw up everything in my stomach. Afterward, I looked down at my hands. There were stains on them too. As if I had grabbed the rotten food myself. But I had no memory of doing that. I remembered the foul smell. The sealed door. The scratching. Nothing else. I never remembered crouching down. I never remembered eating anything. Yet the evidence was there. On my clothes. On my hands. I couldn't understand it. Was I losing my mind? Or had something else happened up there? The more I thought about it, the more terrified I became. Even so, A and B listened to everything I had experienced. That alone gave me some comfort. Then I noticed a sharp pain in my legs. When I looked down, I found countless small cuts on my knees and the soles of my feet. Scattered around were tiny red and white fragments. B picked one up. Then his expression changed. Is this a fingernail? The room fell silent. In that instant, the sound came back to me. Scratch. Maybe that was what I had heard. Fingernails scraping against the wall. And the cracking sounds beneath my feet on the stairs. Maybe I had been stepping on piles of broken nails. But none of that mattered anymore. We couldn't stay there. We decided to quit the next morning. Of course, we wouldn't mention the second floor. That night, we packed our things. Then the three of us pushed our futons together and tried to sleep side by side. None of us slept. The next morning, the atmosphere in the room was heavy. But B was acting especially strange. He flinched at every little sound. He kept staring at the cuts on my feet. Concerned, A asked, "Are you okay?" B suddenly snapped. How could I possibly be okay? The room went quiet. Both of us, we went through something that felt like death. I was confused. I was the one who had gone upstairs. B had stayed below. What did you see? After a long silence, B finally answered. I think they were shadows. While I was climbing the stairs. And while I was crouched down, eating the rotten food. He had seen other shadows moving. 3 of them. No. Maybe 4. But there wasn't enough room for that many people, I said. B shook his head. They weren't people. Then, in a trembling voice, he added. They were all clinging to the walls. Like spiders. Crawling across the walls. Across the ceiling. Right beside me. The blood drained from my face. Something had been there with me the entire time. The scratching. The breathing. Maybe they hadn't been coming from behind the door at all. Maybe they had been right next to me. After a while, B turned to A. Sorry about earlier. I'm okay now. But his smile looked forced. Like he was pretending. Then he asked A if he could borrow his laptop. There's something I need to look up. A and I headed to the dining hall. Thinking back on it now, it was strange that we sat down and ate breakfast as if nothing had happened on the very day we planned to quit. When we entered the dining hall, the landlady greeted us with a broad smile. Good morning. Did you sleep well? It was the first time she'd said that since our first day there. Worse still, her eyes lingered on my feet. I froze. A answered casually, as though nothing was wrong. Yes. Sorry we're late. He gave me a light pat on the back, and I finally managed to move again. We explained that B wasn't feeling well and had stayed behind in the room, and Misaki offered to make rice balls for him. Throughout breakfast, the landlady kept staring at me. Smiling. Her chopsticks barely moved. Even Misaki and the owner seemed to notice how unsettling it was. A had gone completely stiff. After cutting breakfast short, we returned to our room and found B talking on the phone. Yes, today, please. When he hung up, it was clear he had made arrangements to go somewhere. On our way back to the dining hall, an unpleasant thought crossed my mind. Had the landlady gone upstairs again? To that pile of rotten leftovers? I immediately pushed the thought away. It was over. We were leaving today. When the landlady returned, the 3 of us bowed our heads. We'd like to quit today. To our surprise, she accepted it without hesitation. I see. Well, I suppose it can't be helped. After briefly discussing our pay and cleaning the room before we left, the conversation was over. It had gone far too smoothly. And somehow, that made it even more disturbing. Our bags had already been packed. After cleaning the room, we went to say our final goodbyes. The landlady, her husband, and Misaki were waiting for us. Misaki looked as though she were on the verge of tears. Thank you for everything you've done for us during our short stay. The landlady handed each of us an envelope and a small drawstring pouch. It isn't much, but take it. Misaki gave us rice balls. I made some for all of you. Take care. Even after everything that had happened the day before, I found myself close to tears. Saying goodbye to people who had taken care of us was painful. After our farewells, we finally left the inn. B declined the owner's offer to drive us to the station, so Misaki called us a taxi instead. The landlady and the others came outside to see us off. To anyone watching, it probably looked like a touching farewell. But the truth was different. We were running away. Just before getting into the taxi, I turned around. The door leading to the second floor looked as though it had been left slightly open. I quickly looked away. Then the taxi quietly pulled away. That's all for part 1. What did we see? Who was on the other end of that phone call? Was the innkeeper's smile genuine, or just an act? And what did the innkeeper's husband and Misaki know? Many questions remain unanswered, but every mystery will be revealed in part 2. And what awaits is a horror far worse than anything that happened on the second floor. If you enjoyed Japanese horror stories like this, consider subscribing. And if this story gave you chills, leave a like.